Hi, everybody. It's Nico, and today we're talking about content. Oh my gosh. So, you're watching me streaming, multicasting on all networks. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on X, we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube. We're live streaming right now. Welcome, everybody, to Growing Happily, Change Three's monthly webinar series for business owners, small business leaders, professionals, IT vendors, you name it. Today's conversation is going to be all about how do you create content that converts? And it's actually going to be a little bit different than what you're used to. So grab a drink, get a seat, get yourself connected, and let's dive in. So I'm Nico Bernie Miller. I am the CEO of Change 3. We're a growth agency based in the mountains of Arizona, Southeast Arizona. We've got people all over the world. And every month we put together a webinar. Sometimes it's a conversation with me and other experts, or it's me by myself. And right now, because of the success of this Growing Happily series, we're turning it into a live streamed podcast. So you're going to be able to see us in platforms like Spotify and iTunes and you name it. So keep looking out for that. For today's conversation, it's all about creating content. Now, content is like the biggest topic right now, especially in the age of AI, where a lot of people are leveraging generative AI tools to create pretty good content, right? Whether it's videos or, image media, and then obviously writing copy. AI will write your emails, it'll write your blogs, it'll write your scripts, it'll write your presentation, and it'll be pretty good, right? But it's not, you can always sort of spot a little bit of AI. So, how do we, as business leaders, business professionals, how do we leverage these really cool tools? And how do we create content that will help us to build new relationships? Because that's really what it's about, right? If you want to drive sales, it's not always about transactions in today's world of social media. It's actually about influence and aspiration and inspiration. So today I'm going to talk to you about three tips that'll actually might go against the grain of what you've been thinking about with regard to creating content. So, number one, the first thing is no strings. No strings. So a lot of times we think about gated content, like that's a hot thing, right? I made a white paper, I did some research, I hired some people, and I created this really juicy white paper. And I put that white paper, or maybe it's video content or something special, something valuable that I think my target audience would want, and I put it behind a gate. And so you have to tell me information about you before you can gain access to it. And that way I know you're interested. So I got a signal, and I put you into a bucket that I call marketing qualified leads, or MQL. And so for years, right, that's been a hot topic, right? Okay, I create some gated content, I have a form. Networks, even LinkedIn, lots of companies have optimized around it, their whole platforms optimized around gated content. And so you think, oh, I generated all these leads from my gated content. But I think you might be finding that year after year, the number of people that convert on your gated content is going down. It might be going down quarter after quarter, or month after month, or week after week, right? And it's not because your content's not any good. It's good. It probably looks good. It's well researched. It's thoughtful. It's just that there's a lot of noise out there, right? Everybody's got a white paper, and everybody's got a document ad, and everybody's got something that they're putting together. Well, maybe not everybody, but lots of people have all this great content that they're putting out there, and they're putting it behind a gate. So here's the first transformational idea that I would recommend you percolate on. No strings. If you've got a great insight that you want to share with your future customers and your current customers, baby, share it, right? No strings, open source that mess, right? Put it out there. Of course, you can create gating experiences where people can raise their hand and say, oh my gosh, I love this. I want more of this. I want a special experience to gather more insight from you. I want a one-on-one. I want a demo. I want a free consultation. But I'd say, and I grew up in the hood, y'all. So When crack cocaine became the thing in the 80s, you know how they got it out there? They didn't say, hey, you know, sign up to see and check it out. They said, want to rock? Right? They gave it away for free. You know who else did that and it worked great for them was Krispy Kreme donuts, right? You walk by Krispy Kreme and there's a young person out there handing you a whole donut for free. You got to experience it and see how wonderful it was or valuable it was, or in the case of crack cocaine, horribly addictive. But if you've got something good and it's valuable and it's useful for your audience, why keep it from them? Give them a taste, baby, right? Put a little bit out there so your audience can engage and experience the value that you have, the insight that you're providing them, the inspiration that you're sharing. And then you can start to pull them in to an experience where they may be more likely to convert. Start building a relationship where they want to expose their information to you, and it's a choice. It's not an ultimatum. Like, if you want this, then you have to do that, right? It's sort of like peer pressure. So you might be thinking, Nico, why are you saying that? This goes against what everyone's talking about, and it goes against huge platforms like HubSpot and you name it, where it's all about gated content. Well, if you look at how social media works today, if you think about live streamers and YouTubers, and you think about what people are doing in social media, what are they doing? They're freely sharing information, they're freely sharing experiences, insights, opinions, ideas, and that's creating a forum where people are consuming it, and they're consuming it willingly and eagerly, and they're so hungry for it, right? They're thirsty. And so the same is true for us as business professionals. We might want to jump on that bandwagon and not gate so much of our insight and our intelligence, and provide a bit more of that value and that inspiration to our target audience so they can get addicted, baby, right? And get and dive on in. Then we can create nice little crumble paths, breadcrumbs for them to follow, and willingly expose their information to us and start to build a relationship with us. Oh yeah, the volume of your MQL will go down. But I challenge you, I challenge all of you who are generating loads and loads of MQL from gated content to talk to your sales teams. Rather than your marketing team, go talk to your sales team and say, hey, how good are those leads? How are you having a good time? Converting these marketing qualified leads of people who downloaded a white paper or whatever gated content you were offering to them, and see what they say. From my experience, from working with loads and loads of tech and B2B companies that have produced some of the best gated content you can imagine, they generate hundreds, sometimes thousands of leads. And salespeople always complain about leads, people. So we got to take this with a grain of salt. But a lot of times salespeople say, hey, I have a hard time converting these leads. And a lot of times that's because people who engage with gated content that's highly gated, like you can't really get anything out of it until you give your information. Well, sometimes they're just curious, and there's really not really any intent, right? There's that signal that you got from a gated response where they gave you their information to download your content, whatever it is. That is not actually a partial signal in some cases, depending on how hard the gate is, right? How big that gate is. If you give them a little taste, like a pretty good taste, right? Where you might quench the thirst of curiosity, and then they still want more, well, then, baby, you got you a good lead. If you didn't give them anything, honey, you didn't show not an ankle, right? And you got it all covered up, and so they're just curious of what they could see, well, then you might get a lot of leads in there, might not actually be truly interested. They're just curious. And I think what salespeople often call those type of leads are tire kickers, right? They're just kicking the tires, being like, how does this work? What is this for? So that would be my first tip, is no strings, right? Take the big old gates out of your current content process, and continue to invest in all these great, valuable content experiences, whether it's video is a really great one, thought leadership based video, TED Talk type experiences where you really can inspire, empower, educate, and influence your future customers create videos like that. If you want to generate written long form content that has a lot of value in it, how to's, white papers, benchmarking data, technical data where it might be hard for people to gather on their own, that's all juicy and delicious. And you can chunk it up, have bits of it that might be available to your audience without any strings. And then the meat of it, right? You give them the potatoes without strings, but the meat, you might have them willingly enter into a funnel to get more. Those are some tips. And these are things that we do. It's very effective in terms of how we start and build and nurture relationships with our future customers. And it works pretty good. Um, are you going to get 10,000 leads? You're not going to hear that from me. No, of course, it might be 2 or 3 or 5 or 6. It depends on your volume of how big you build your funnel. But honestly, when you think about building real business relationships, sometimes it's just 1 or 2 is all you need to really move the needle. So number 1, no strings. All right, what's next? Okay, so number 2, this is all about the type of content and your mindset of the content that you create. And so that is all about nourishing your audience. So I'm going to spend a bunch of time on this, you guys, and I would love it for you to put in the comments your thoughts and your ideas. If you're watching us on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, or you name it, let us know, because I would love for you to share your thoughts here. So nourishing content. There's loads of ways you can produce content. You can produce lifestyle content, fun content, interesting content. It depends on who your audience is. Are you selling to consumers, kids, adults, women, men, you name it, right? Everything in between. Are you selling to business professionals, technical people? It all depends on who's your audience. That's the first bit. Once you really know who you're trying to talk to, and I'm sure you already know, who your future customer is. So then the question is, do you want to nourish them, right? Inspire, empower, enable, educate, um, create aspirations, resonate with, show empathy for? Are you trying to offer something to your future customer? Or do you want to use that content piece to tell them how great you are? It's a choice. Everything's a choice, right? It's a choice. And I've seen lots of content in lots of different form factors. And depending on the scenario, it might be appropriate to position yourself as the creme de la crop, right? The luxury brand, the Maybach, the Bugatti, the Louis Vuitton, the whatever, right? And you want to show all the awards and the accolades and the position and the ranks and all that kind of stuff, and talk about how great you are, because maybe that is the differentiator of why customers would choose working with your company or choose your solution or you as the asset, because you're the best or the greatest or the most award winning or whatever that is. That might be the right position, and that really only you will know. But most of us, yours truly included, that's not how we roll. Right? Maybe you're a little more shy or humble or meek or what have you, and you don't want to lead with a storyline that's all about you. And so what I would encourage you to do is to lead with a storyline that's all about your customer. So that's nourishing. So the nourishing mindset is all about, well, what does your future customer need? What would help them? What would validate their actions, their concerns? What would assuage their worries? There's probably 400 questions you could ask and answer that would fit into this nourishing category. Um, and it's really all about offering something that is useful, valuable, helpful. Let's use the word helpful. That's helpful for your future customer, so that they will find the consumption of your content nourishing, right? It quenched their thirst for information. It edified their brain. They have a new idea. It inspired them. It uplifted them. It enabled them. It armed them with information so they could have the next, spicy discussion in the boardroom. It gave them something that they wanted, or or even better needed to get through it the next day or the next quarter or the next week better off. And that's really the most important thing that you could do when you create content that converts, is to create content that is on target for the relationship that you're trying to build with your future customer. But more importantly, that content is going to nourish them, because that nourishment, right, when you fill a need, fill a want, fill a gap that future customer has, well, when you do that, then that is what creates the connection. That connection of, hey, this person is, or this company, this brand is helpful. Let me go deeper, right? You might not have satisfied their hunger or quenched their thirst fully, but you've offered them something that gives them relief, right? And so they're like, oh, the emotional experience. So that's where we can go deep, guys, and have this conversation. Marketing is a lot of things, especially marketing in today's world is a lot of technology. There's a lot of science. There's a lot of data. There's artistry. There's illustration. There's influence, but it is also psychology, right? So the deeper you go into human psychology and bio theory and all that kind of stuff, then the more that you'll be able to craft strategies that will help you to more effectively influence and engage your audience. And the psychology is, every choice, right, can lead to an emotional response, even business choices. Back in the day, they'd be like, oh, you won't get fired if you buy IBM, right? So it's the certainty, the security of, okay, this might cost more, but I know it's not going to fail or it's not going to break. The next vision might be, oh, this is going to make me look good, right? Lifestyle or luxury brand kind of a mentality. Oh, this is fun. This is cool. This is innovative. This is leading edge. This is new. Those are all different emotions that your future customer might have. And there's 1,000 more. Again, it's all a function of your business and your position and who your future customers is, how you might want to engage with them in terms of building that nourishing interaction. So what I try to do with my content, when the relationships that I'm building with my current customers and my future customers, is I want to help them grow happily. So the happily part, every word in that is important. Help you grow happily. Every word is important and has a ton of weight. But the happily part is the bit that's the emotion, right? I want you to feel delighted. I want you to be beyond satisfied with results. I want you to be balanced, feel well. I want our interactions to be healthy, supportive, nourishing, right? So everything that my team and I do, we strive to have a tone that is supportive and caring and loving and all those great things, because those are the emotions that we want to generate. Other people position differently in the market, and it's all good. There's no right or wrong way to position your offering or your business or your service. It's really a function of who you are. Just like you can't have right or wrong people. There are people that you might like their ideas and people you might not. It really is in that. And our acts as marketers and our activities as people building our businesses is really to just expose who we are truthfully and clearly in a transparent manner, so that customers can self-select and say, oh, I like your cake, I like this candy, I like your consulting, I like your solutions, I like your connectivity, whatever it is. And they can choose. They'll freely choose the providers and the service providers and the offerings and the solutions that they believe best fit their desires, right? Their needs or their wants. So what does this have to do with content, right? Because come on, get back on the track, Nico. So what does this have to do with content? What it has to do with content is every type of content experience you create all speaks to your brand position. And the strategic approach with that is to think about what emotions you want your future customers to feel when they interact with your content. Do you want them to feel experience? Do you want them to feel influential? Do you want them to feel important? Do you want them to feel engaged, knowledgeable? Sometimes people want you to feel small, because if you feel small, then you need to look up to them. It's all strategy. And you've got to pick the approach that makes the most sense for you and your business. We posted in the chat links, so follow us on all our socials. Like I said, every month we do live streams like this. We're moving into this live stream podcast format because I drink my Kool-Aid, y'all. So no strings, you can gain access to our content. If you'd like to be in the audience, so to speak, because this is actually a webinar, and we've had quite a few executives that sign up to have direct interaction as part of the webinar experience, feel free to sign up on our website at change3e.com/events. I'll post that in the chat too. And we have a whole lineup of events and activities for business professionals who want to grow happily. We have a focus on small and mid-sized businesses, but we actually support businesses of all sizes, some of the largest companies in the world. We're honored to serve and support. And so we would love to serve and support you too. So back to the conversation, content that converts. So first thing was, baby, make those gates a little bit smaller, right? So no strings. Right now in today's world, consumers and business decision makers are savvy. They know what the whole exchange is. You dangle the bait out there and go, hey, get this white paper, and they know they're going to have to give you their information. So really what you want to do is give them more of a reason to willingly, freely, voluntarily choose to give you their information. And that is to offer value. And that takes us to number 2, which is you, because your strategy, your desire, your goal, your focus of creating your content is to nourish them, right? So we talked about nourishment. We talked about the emotional response of nourishing your future customers and your current customers with your great and juicy content. Well, what's some ways you can do? Because you're like, baby, I know all this. Give me some stuff I don't know yet, right? So here's some stuff. So first one is research, right? So I'm actually going to share some stuff on the stage. 1 second. And because we all do this, right? Don't we love living in the age of AI? So much fun. Don't we love all this? So here we go. So if you did a Google search on, content marketing statistics for 2025, you'd get something like this. You're actually going to get a couple different juicy ads, search ads, and then you'll get, the AI doc here and some data, right? See lots of data. Loads and loads of research about content marketing out there these days, which is great because us as marketers, you couldn't have too much data. You can have too much research or information. The trick, though, is to analyze it and synthesize it into this thing that you really need, which is intelligence, right? Intelligence is, I guess, the equivalent of wisdom from God, right? Wisdom, experience, insight. So that intelligence is where you've taken all that data, all that information, and you've synthesized it into insight of what you're going to do, what fits for you. So here's some great stuff. So B2C marketers rate their organization's overall level of content marketing success in the last 12 months. This is data from 2022, so it's a little bit old, but not quite stanky, right? And only a very small percentage of them, that's the yellow bit, 4% said they felt extremely successful. The big blue chunk, that's a little bit more than half, said they were moderately successful. That was B2C. Let's look at the B2B folks. Put that in the doc here. So if we switch it around and we look at what B2B people say, what are they saying? They rate their organization's level of content maturity. Content maturity, not quite the exact same question, but similar. And of a little bit more of them, B2B folks, we doing a little bit more, right? 9% of them say they feel sophisticated, like their maturity level with content marketing, sophisticated. 33% of them say they're mature. So folks that sell to businesses have been doing content marketing a little bit longer and doing more with it. But there's still plenty of folks that feel like they're young, it's their first steps, maybe a little bit unsure, and or adolescent, right, which is still developing. Super interesting. So why am I cycling you guys through data, right? How is this insight? So that's what I'm going to try to synthesize for y'all, give you a little bit of insight here. I encourage you to do this same search, content marketing statistics for 2025. I encourage you, if you're in a marketing role, a sales role, or any kind of a role where you're engaging with customers and you're thinking about creating these kind of content focused experiences, first step is data-driven decisions, right? Hop on to Google, chat with that Google AI, what is that, Gemini or Sophie or Keisha, whatever the name is, and jump in there and dig up some stats to give you a little bit of a context, right? Give you some perspective. So right now, if we think about B2B marketers, they feel like they're lacking the right technology for content management. And some of them say, no, they have technology, but they're not really maximizing its full potential. And I would wager, and that's where we're going to go deeper into, well, what are these content experiences that can convert? So research is always extremely valuable. And there are ways that you can more efficiently and cost effectively gather primary research, which are actual survey data, focus group interviews, testimonial style research. There's loads of ways that you can incorporate that into your day-to-day customer engagement and outreach processes so you can continually gather intelligence every step of the way as you go along. Research is a really important strategy. Video. So if we go over here and we look at this, and see what Google's talking to us about. Google says, hey, what's really popular is obviously, oops, sorry. I'm trying to figure out how to get down on this page here, y'all. All right, here we go. So Google says video, the content forms is that it is dominated by video like this, what I'm doing right now, which had its inception as a series of webinars that we host in a platform like Zoom or Teams. And, we get hundreds of registrations, hundreds of people join us. Some sessions are less popular, 50 people register, 20 people join us, 5 people join us. For me, it's if one person joins, that's all good. But now we're turning it into a live stream and then a podcast with video. So there's all this great video content. And that's because video is dominating in social media. So, and I'll go back to some stats in a little bit, but video is dominating in social media because people love to consume video, right? They watch less broadcast TV, they watch more online video, and they're watching video for everything. They watch videos on how to make a pot roast, they watch videos on the tips and tricks, on political conversations, on dating advice, fun content, content farms. They watch video on how to improve your career, leadership guidance, you name it. Everything you can imagine is being created in videos by people who have experience, insight, ideas, thoughts. Some people are way off target. They don't even know what the hell they're talking about. They still making videos because people are consuming videos because they're thirsty for insight and intelligence. They're thirsty for nourishment, right? They're hungry. They're emotionally and intellectually, empathetically hungry for more, to connect more. And that's what social media does to you. It leaves you wanting to consume more. And so video is a way to interact with humans through social media. So back to content that converts. So here's my first challenge for you. Or no, actually, this is like my third challenge, right? First I said, do your content without gates. Bring your gates down. So that's my first challenge is especially if you're experienced with gated content, you're like, wait a minute, well, try it out. Bring those gates down and see if it results in better lead quality. The second one is adjust your strategy so you're nourishing. Well, here's the next one is even if you're shy, see if you can create video. You, as a professional, whatever it is you do, you're a baker, you make gaskets, you make silicone liners for truck beds, whatever it is, I can assure you that there are people in your organization that are total super geniuses on that particular topic. And that particular topic is exactly what you want to produce videos about, because that's what your customer is trying to learn about. And there's 500 things about your topic area that your customer wants to hear about. What do I do with the bed liner? How do I install it? Should I get it color match? What are the possibilities? There's 500 topics you could literally be talking about in your video based content. Now, back to mindset. You might be thinking, I have a face for radio, right? Don't we all? There's a very, very small portion of us that's just finer than fine, right? The rest of us are absolutely gorgeous as we are. And we all are worthy to engage and be the center of the insight and the nourishing content creation. So that's my next challenge for you guys. Get y'all butts on the camera. Think about 4 things that you really would love to share with your customer. If you're in sales, there's questions that you're always answering. If you're marketing, there's stuff that you're always trying to present out there. If you're the CEO of the company, oh my gosh, there's so many things that you're like, oh, here's trends that I see. There's things that we want to offer. There's ways we want to better serve our customers. There's so many things that you have to talk about. If you're the head of operation, if you're a customer support person, it doesn't matter where you are in the organization. You've got something nourishing to say to future customers, and you could become part of that content engine. And so that's what I would challenge all of you to do, is find a few people in your organization, pop them in front of a camera, and talk about the value and the nourishing engagement that you have for future customers. Answer questions, present scenarios, talk about solutions that you guys often see. It is really helpful if you have someone that's got some experience with this stuff to nurture you and nourish you through the process. Absolutely helpful. We do it. We have partners that are great at it, that help you create that user generated content. But if you're pretty fancy and you're like already working it out on TikTok, baby, and you're like, I could do this in my business, you probably could. That's what I'll say. A lot of people out there be telling you, no, you can't. You need to hire an agency. You need to hire a professional. And they like to use those words. And sure, when you hire, the more skilled somebody is, usually the faster they do the work, the better the quality, and sometimes the greater the result. But hey, when Mr. Beast started rocking out his videos, he probably wasn't a video professional either. And now he's the number one YouTuber. When Kai Cenat started live streaming on Twitch, he's still just a young little whippersnapper, right? These are young people fresh out the gate with just a lot of excitement and energy. Same thing, iShowSpeed. I mean, these guys have millions and millions of people in their audiences, and it's because they really got out there. And they're awesome too, right? They have a lot of energy and something to say. Well, I would say to you, you're awesome too. You got something to say. And maybe you don't have as much energy as a 22-year-old person, right? But you probably do got some energy. Get some coffee, honey. Drink a little bit of vitamin water and get yourself out there and start talking about topics that you believe will nourish your future customer. And get out there. So there's some technical reasons why you want to do this. Because you might be thinking, okay, I can do it. I can make a video talking about, how to replace your roof or whatever topic it is that's related to your particular business. But then you might say, well, what am I going to get from it? 3 things to be aware of. Number 1, if you're going to start generating content, make a commitment to do it for a little while. Because if you just make the one video and then you're expecting, 10,000 people to see it, it's generally, networks don't work that way. Even if you were to put money behind it and boost it as an ad or push it out there as sponsored content, again, like we talked about earlier, right? No strings. You're trying to build relationships with people and encourage them, nourish them, empower them. One video is probably not enough to really build that relationship. And it would be helpful for you to have a bunch of interactions, right? It would be better to produce more valuable, lower production quality value videos than to produce one super whiz bang gorgeous video that costs you 10 grand, right? It would be better to have just the third thing that I wanted to tell you guys is authentic. It would be better to just have authentic information that you share truthfully, unabashedly, transparently, in front of your audience, and to talk to them intelligently and showcase your knowledge and expertise on topics that they're going to find nourishing and useful. It would be better for you to do that without a lot of fancy stuff. There are loads of tools out there. Like right now, I'm using StreamYard, which is super. I love it. But there are loads of tools out there that you could use to help you create video content, streaming experiences, even other types of content sources that will help you break the algorithm. So let's talk about it. Why would it be useful to create more video? Well, there's a whole bunch of reasons, but I'm gonna give you three. Number one is in whatever kind of business that you're in, humans typically are the ones that's going to buy your products, right? Even though we're working with AI more these days, AI is broke as hell, don't have no money, right? It's the humans that have the money. So when you put a human face, human emotions, human energy and impetus and human inspiration into the mix, then humans are more likely to get to know you and want to discover who you are and what your business is about and how you can help them. So definitely video helps to create that beautiful face and to, engage people in and wake up that humanity. The second thing is just very technical, right? So a few weeks ago, LinkedIn said they are a video first platform. They're expanding to be more than just professional content and it's video first. So what does that mean? That means posts that have video media attached will be favored in the algorithm. And in a lot of social media platforms, they have a very similar approach, which is a video first. Video generally has more favor, higher placement, higher priority in the algorithm for a variety of reasons. There are different ad units, there's a different cost model, there's a different things like that. And so when you produce a video, you might find that it shows up first at the top of your network's feed. If you have an ad and it has video, you'll find that it shows up first over just a single image post or what have you. Not everybody wants to produce video. There are other ad units or other content types like carousel or documents or stories. There are different types, multi-image posts, you name it. There are different types depending on the network. LinkedIn's introduced this new thought leader, array of posts where you can write articles and you can even sponsor those articles and other things like that. They call it thought leader ads, which is cool. There's loads of different things that you can do to showcase your expertise and provide that nourishing, authentic, no strings content to your future customer and your current ones. But the main thing is for you to be authentic in doing it and to put your face out there and to be human. And hopefully that content is really about your future customer and their needs and ways that they can get through life or get through their work a little bit better and not so much as much about you, right? Now, it's a choice. Of course, this is my recommendation. And you can say, girl, you dumb, right? That's fine. You won't hurt my feelings. There are people out there that say you have to establish your cred, right? What's really cool if you're in that camp and you believe that cred, social cred, street cred, whatever kind of cred, credibility, whatever it is you think is necessary. What's really cool are testimonials. Love those where other people talk about how you help them. Love that. Super duper. And you know what? You've probably got a bunch of fans in your customer base that would gladly, joyfully give you a testimonial, whether it's a video testimonial or a quote or you name it, right? Such a great way to establish your credibility. But if you are of the thought that I need to establish my credibility and you want to do so because you've won awards or maybe you've been showcased somewhere or you've presented at something, those things are all great too. I'm not a huge fan. I don't focus on that kind of stuff not because they're not great. And I am not going to steal anybody's shine because it's awesome. Congratulations. What I try to encourage my clients to do is to take a step back and think about the emotional experience that is what people experience in social media. And so when people see, how can I say this? When you get into social media and it's all about how great everybody is, look at my filter, look how cute I am. I went somewhere cool. I won this award. I did all this kind of stuff. It can create a vibe that a lot of people don't like. And there's actually studies right now about the impact on humans, young people into that kind of experience gives. So I'm not going to tell you, oh, don't do it so that other people won't feel bad, right? You be you, baby, right? Roll out however you want to. But what I will say is that the things that I find that connect people and draw them closer to you aren't about you, it's about them. So when you share content that reaches and talks to and talks for and talks about your future customer rather than about you, then you're more likely to make an empathetic connection with them where they're going to feel personified in what you've shared. They're going to feel connected to it. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, that's so true, and it's going to resonate with them. And that is what will get them to voluntarily walk right into your lead gen funnel and offer up their contact details with true and strong and real signals of interest, so that when you respond back to them in a timely, appropriate, responsive manner, that they're going to be like, yeah, I saw your white paper, I watched your videos, I attended your webinar, I did all those things, because you're probably going to have lots of interactions with them. And they're going to be like, you're awesome. And I love it. And I want to see how I can work with you. So there you go. So that's how you create content that converts. So what are some topics? We talked about research. I'm a huge fan of market research. You'll find if you visit my website, change3e.com, for my company, we do our own branded surveys over the years, because I know y'all thought that I was 25, but I'm a little bit older. And for the last 30 years of my career, I have probably surveyed, oh my gosh, 250,000 business professionals around the world, literally. Probably more. I think it goes up. It goes up every month because we're conducting surveys all the time. But all that research is such a great, valuable asset. You'll find that, people will tell you a lot about their business and their goals and all that sort of stuff. So I'm a huge fan of market research. There's some really great tools out there right now, guys, that it makes it easy for you to gather market research, whether it's Survey Monkey, or Qualtrics or whatever. There's so many cool platforms, Google Forms, Microsoft Forms. There's Jotform. There's so many cool platforms. Most of them are free, where you could actually gather some survey data. Now, the devil's in the detail, right? The proof's in the pudding. So yes, you can gather data. Remember, we talked about data earlier. Data is not insight, nor is it intelligence. So, yeah, you can gather a lot of data by doing market research, but you might not be able to, it might not be statistically valid. It might not be a representative sample of your audience. It might not be enough where you could be making statements from it. So, be mindful when you are doing market research, right? But here's a company that says, hey, in uncertain times, data is your competitive edge, and that companies are 111% more likely to struggle with growth and 55% more likely to face challenges in gaining market share than they were 3 years ago. And market research gives them more visibility and to help them move forward with confidence. So, of course, market research is also usually a big part of your content marketing programs, because data, like they just said, is valuable, and it builds confidence. So that market research is great. And a survey of your customers, for example, 50 customers, 25 customers, might give you enough of a perspective for your own business. It might be valuable to share back with those customers or future customers. So surveys are always great. The devil's definitely in the details. You can definitely present data in a way that is not in keeping or in line with what the data is actually gathering. You can absolutely misinterpret data or present it in a manner that is I would say disinformation, right? And it could be totally unintentional. Just because you survey 10 teenagers doesn't mean you know what all teenagers say, right? So the way you present data and how you ask questions, all that, it really is a technical skill. But that shouldn't keep you from being willing to gather data. You can definitely get ideas of great questions to ask. You can look at other surveys. You can check out all that free data that's on the internet. That's a great way to figure out great questions to ask. And as always, you can call this mama right here because I've done so many surveys, thousands literally in my 30-year career. I know you don't believe me because you think this woman must only be 30, but no, honey, I'm a little bit older than that. I'm a lot bit older than that, but I'm just fabulous. No, I'm joking. But I would happily, if you want to do a survey and you want a little bit of advice, hit me up. You can hit us up on any of our socials. You can go to our website and willingly submit your information to our form, and I'll happily give you some advice on crafting a survey. I've done, like I said, thousands of them for huge companies, for little businesses, for my own. And so I have a lot of experience there. Happy to help you. Surveys are a great way to gather data. Other great ways to gather data is focus groups or testimonials. As customers come in, ask them the same two questions. What's your favorite muffin? Do you like sprinkles or not? Or whatever it is. Ask it consistently. It'll really give you a vibe. And if you track that results, or maybe you record it, you ask customers to give you their input. You see a lot of content producers that do that sort of thing, where they go around and they record people's answers to, one or two questions. That can turn into really engaging, interesting content, depending on the context, right? Obviously, for us in business to business or even B2C, we don't need to talk about spicy topics, like politics or things like that. But when it comes to our business, let's say you have a restaurant, you might want to ask, well, what day of the week do you like to eat out, go out and have dinner or whatever? And so that kind of stuff could be very fun content for your social media, and it becomes very engaging and compelling, and a really good part of your strategy. So back to what kind of content converts. So research-based content converts. It creates really useful and interesting content experiences. User-generated video content is part of that path that converts too, because people see themselves in it, right? So figuring out strategies where you can gather video from your audience, from your market, from your customers is always going to be really great. And that's going to help you create a funnel and a progression path where those customers can convert. So, and they'll again willingly give you their information and get to know you. And then the last thing would be informative, interactive experiences. This live stream is a great example. It's also a webinar. People who join to listen to what you have to share, interact with you. You can create Q&A opportunities for them. Those are always really great. There are loads of people starting podcasts, video series, you name it. Those types of experiences are really great to build an audience. Now, how does that go down the conversion path? Because you're like, well, if you watch my videos for free on YouTube and you don't have to tell me who you are, then how do I act on that? Oh my gosh, there's so many ways. Baby, let's talk. So let's get into it. Now, there are a few different ways where you can use that to your advantage. Number one, in a lot of these platforms, whether it's TikTok or YouTube or Instagram or what have you, they actually have elements that have been optimized around merchandise. So if you are a B2C brand or you sell items, you actually could list products. You can have shopping elements integrated into your video channel. So, for example, you sell metal buildings, right? That's residential and commercial. And you have a whole series of videos about how to put those buildings together, how to design them, cool tips and tricks and stuff. And you might get a lot of it because people, baby, I just built me a metal barn. People love metal buildings, right? They're so great. So there might be, and the company that I bought it from, they have a very active YouTube channel, thousands of followers, loads of content, and they have ads, right? Or these shopping, it's not ads, they're shopping elements, shopping tiles, I guess you could call them, where you could buy a building. There's $22,000 for this one and $47,000 for that one, whatever. And that's huge. No, I don't think somebody's going to check out from YouTube a $47,000 building. They might, you never know. But it definitely will show them an idea of what it costs and what it is and drop them into a buying funnel, which is what you want. And, we know that there's similar kinds of shopping optimized experience in like TikTok and other platforms, and more are coming. So definitely going further. So what we saw on screen earlier, that a lot of marketers are like, oh, I've got these cool platforms, but maybe I'm not doing as much as I can with them. That's a great example. If you're creating content and you've got a physical product that you sell, well, what's keeping you from going further and placing products in those platforms where you got your video content? And if you don't, if you're like, well, we don't do YouTube or we're not making videos yet, and you're like, we want to, we're planning to do it, I strongly encourage you to do it because it will be prioritized in the algorithms. It will garner views. And now you've got a place where you can place your products. So there you go. Content that converts. Sometimes you got to get out of your comfort zone, people, depending on, where you are in the generational, continuum. If you're, I call them web native, right? If you're born before 2000, actually, some of these people, if you're born before 2000, you probably web native, right? You don't know anything other than a world dominated by the internet, a world dominated by cloud, and a world dominated by social media, right? You might not know anything other than that versus you were born before 2000 and you do know what the world was like before that. So if you were born before 2000 and you're not web native, right, like me, I'm not web native either, people. You can gain those skills. You can do it. So if you're a little bit shy, you don't like to be on camera, or you're like, maybe a little bit meek and you're not sure that you can do some of this stuff, baby, I'm telling you, you can. Focus on what you know. If you're a landscaper, if you're an accountant, a lawyer, a dentist, a doctor, a market researcher, a consultant, a growth agency, whatever you are, you have something important that you can share to your future customers based on your years of experience, however many they are, based on what you're doing every day in your business that people are paying you to do. That makes you a professional, and that means you have a professional's opinion based on experience that you can share. So get yourself out there, get your butt in front of that camera, and start making some content that converts and connects, that is no strings attached, nourishing, and authentic. You can do it. If you want some tips and tricks, or you want to get some training and some support, happy to do it. You can also Google this stuff. If you're like, I do not have time for none of this mess, well, find a buddy, right? Find a partner who is skilled with this kind of stuff, who knows how to stream, who knows how to do videos, do a little bit of video editing or whatever. Or you could hook up with folks like us, of course, my team, and we can help you on your journey. Some of the stuff doesn't cost as much as you would imagine. A lot of these things can be very cost effective. You just need to find the right partner. So there you go. That's it for today's conversation. If you're in the webinar and you have questions, feel free to raise your hand. If you're watching us on the live stream and you want to join the next conversation on the webinar, just hit our website to register and to join the webinar experience. Let us know what you think. If you are, this is your first time and you've joined our webinars in the past from Zoom, now we're using StreamYard webinar. It is a bit of a different interface. I would love your feedback. If you're like, girl, I do not like this, please let a mama know, right? Let them know. Trying to optimize our experiences. We're having a lot of fun streaming, but there's loads of ways we can, stream and have a great webinar experience at the same time. If you have other ideas about how you like to experience the content, maybe there's a VIP webinar portion at the beginning, and then we live stream a part at the end, or vice versa, what have you. I invite all of you to share your ideas. I would love them all. Please share your ideas, share your content dreams and visions, because I want to hear from you, and I can't wait to see your first piece of content that connects after today's discussion. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. I am Nico Bernie Miller. I'm the CEO of Change 3. Thank you for joining us for Content Connect that connects. Next month, we're going to be talking about filling your lead gen gaps. So all in this same vein. But next month's conversation isn't going to be so much about marketing qualified leads. We're going to focus more of our attention on sales qualified leads. So going from generating demand from marketing programs, which might be broad, outbound, less personal experiences to creating interactions for individuals, a salesperson, a scheduled appointment, something like that, a demo, you name it. It's a bit of a shift. And so there are some things that we've learned that work really well and things that maybe work less good, and tips and tricks. Then we'll talk about, how you can arm your salespeople so they can have more effective conversations, how your marketing can amplify what they're doing, and vice versa, and how you can have a better connection and better harmony between sales and marketing to drive more results. Every month, we have a new topic for Growing Happily. In the fourth quarter of this year, we're going to be introducing some operational related topics beyond sales, marketing, content creation, social media, those sorts of things. We're going to be adding more things in that's necessary for you to grow happily. What makes it important for you to have a lawyer if you own a small business? That is going to be something we're going to be tackling in October or November. And what benefits you get by having an accountant, baby, because maybe you have your cousin Freddie or Keisha who's doing accountant. So, what are the benefits of having an accountant? You can expect that in November and December. And how would it benefit you to have a lawyer? In addition to our usual growth related, demand gen related topics, we're going to be adding those operational topics as well. And then the third thing to round out the fourth quarter would be, how do you best leverage AI if you are a small or mid-sized business? Oh my God, there's so much to talk about there. So I'm not going to steal my thunder, but please stay tuned, stay connected, and join us for every event. Now that we are live streaming, of course, you're always welcome to watch every conversation, but we would love to have you join us in the webinar experience where you can ask questions. Next week, I'll be joining an all-star panel under our Be Techly team that does business technology, research, insights, and conferences. And it's all about leadership in the age of AI. So if you're not used to managing people, or you've gotten used to managing people and you're not used to managing AI, oh my gosh, you really should join us next week. We're going to live stream that one too. So come on over, jump on in, and I can't wait to meet you. Have a good one. Thank you guys. Have a great day.